talk to us a little bit about your experience doing lease options.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, lease option is, yeah, go ahead.
So where did you start doing lease options? Because a lot of people start off with wholesaling like you did. They may go to some fix and flip, and then they kind of divert, and either they may do some subject to, or sometimes they go to lease options. So talk to us a little bit about your journey with lease options.
Yeah, so, way back when I started, 08, 09, I did those wholesale deals, then moved over to just doing marketing. Around 2016 is when I got back into doing my own deals again. And this time I said, I don't want to do just wholesale deals. I want to be the true transactional engineer. And for me, that meant getting more into buying and selling on terms, whether it's seller finance, sub-to, lease option, sandwich leases, lease option assignments, all that sort of thing. The creative financing side is what really piqued my interest, because not only can you basically make the same front end payday as a wholesaler, and then if you stay in the deal, you get the monthly cash flow and then the back end equity to boot, right? So nowadays, what we'll typically do, like my bread and butter deal, we'll buy a house sub-to. If the seller's owed any equity, we'll give them a carryback with no payments, no interest, no balloon, and then we'll sell it, quote unquote, sell it on a lease option to a tenant buyer.
So for those people watching or listening, so what Blair's talking about is these leads that come in where the seller's in a more desperate position than the sellers that you and I work with, where the seller's willing to deed you the house and let you just take over the payments. Right, but then you lease option on the backside. On the BC transaction, you're lease optioning it. Is that correct?
Sandwich lease option, right?
Well, no, because it's not a sandwich, because he doesn't have a lease option on the front. He's taking it subject to
I didn't hear. Okay.
On the front, then lease optioning on the back. Is that right, Blair?
That's right. My preference is to get the deed, and that way I'm in total control, and I own the property then, and I get all the benefits of ownership. We have done some sandwich leases. Nothing wrong with that. I just prefer to be in total control and never have to get the seller's permission to do anything after that. You know what I mean?
So that conversation, say between you and a seller, Blair, where you have that initial conversation with them and you're trying to get a feel for their situation. They have a money problem, a property problem, a family problem, or a combination of those three. With what Joe and I do, we specialize in lease option assignments. So these sellers are not really desperate. They're just kind of looking for plan B. But what you're describing is a seller that is more, they're more desperate. So talk to us about that conversation where, with us, we don't, on a lease option assignment, we're not taking the deed. We're just flipping the paper, right? But for you to get the deed, what does that sound like when you're talking to the seller? And what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to take over your payments and you deed it over to me and you have no control over anything, and now I own your house.
Yeah, that's exactly how we say it. No, I'm just kidding. John, this is why you don't buy sub-to.
That's right, yeah. Because I'm too honest and transparent.
Yeah. No, we just, and really it just depends on the seller's situation. I said that, the bread and butter deal for me is to buy sub-to, because most sellers we deal with have a mortgage in place. Right. And so instead of doing a wraparound mortgage or anything else like that, we just take over the debt. And we just tell the seller, look, the only way I can buy your house is by taking over your payment. Is that going to keep you up at night? Right. Now, here's the good news, Mr. Seller. You're free and you can just move on. I'm going to take care of everything from here on out. And we'll take over your payment as soon as we close on the house, and you're good to go. Now, the loan does stay in your name temporarily until we cash you out at some point in the future. Now, if that's going to keep you up at night, maybe we shouldn't do this, but you tell me. Most of them, like you were saying, are a little more desperate than others, and so they'll say yes. But I will say there's a caveat to that. Most people, from the outside looking in, they think, oh man, what seller would do that, right? They got to be, so desperate, about to like kill themselves because they need this cash or whatever. But we've had plenty of sellers. They'll sell to us either sub-to if they have a mortgage, or I can think of a couple of deals in particular where they own the house free and clear and they just finance it to us with a very small down payment, very low monthly payment. And we got a heck of an upside on that. principal only payments on the monthly payment. So, and they didn't need the cash. Like they owned this $400,000 house free and clear. They had just moved away to another house 3 hours away, and they were tired of dealing with it. They didn't need money, so I gave them $5,000 down and like $1,200 a month until paid.
Mm-hmm. And so in that case, so they're creating a note with you, between them and you. You get the deed to the house, but there's a note there. So if you don't make your payments, they foreclose. But then on the BC side, you could wrap it if you wanted to. You could do a lease option. You could rent it out, Airbnb it, whatever you wanted to do. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, once you own it, once you take title to it, whether it's subject to their existing debt or seller financed or whatever, I mean, you're the owner, just as if you had financed it any other way, even traditionally, right? On that particular one, because here in North Carolina, the most advantageous exit for me is a lease option. That's what we do on almost all of our deals. So that particular one, we sold it on a lease option. We bought it for $413 with $5 down. We sold it for $450 with $45 down on a lease option, and made about $500 to $700 a month cash flow on that.